I'm delighted to say it's now time for our keynote speech of the morning. And really, really pleased that we've been able to bring this speaker to you here today. Very pleased that she's here to share her thoughts on the future. Extensive work shaping the future of technology and society. Now, we have already had that theme talked about here, that actually it is bringing the tech into the society and taking those two forward. So I'm thrilled to welcome on stage the president of the Italian National Innovation Fund and Honorary Professor at the Institute for Innovation and Public Purpose at UCL, University College London. Please welcome Francesca Bria.
Good morning. It's really great to be here in Copenhagen today, and everything is working. And Denmark is a country that has become a global leader, a benchmark for a simple, efficient, and digital public service. So I want to thank the Danish Presidency and the European Commission for placing these topics, interoperability, digital sovereignty, and public value at the center of Europe's agenda. I will try in my speech to make one argument very clear, that Europe will only be sovereign, competitive, and democratic if our public sector, if our nations are able to build interoperable, AI-ready, open European alternatives and can adopt and reuse them at continental scale. Professor Draghi has been calling this an existential challenge, and President von der Leyen responded with a €1 trillion investment in the competitiveness compass. So the question, I believe, is not anymore if we need digital sovereignty, but whether we will build it or we will settle for sovereignty washing while our democracy remains at risk. Today, we are in an age of poly-crisis, where we have post-COVID shocks, supply chain fragility, the war in Ukraine, trade wars, tech decoupling, that's not going back, and rising corporate concentration. The old model of globalization that was based on cheap labor, fossil energy, frictionless trade is over. A new techno-economic paradigm is taking shape, where sovereignty is defined not only by our borders, but by who owns and governs digital infrastructures. If Europe's mission-critical systems, digital identity, healthcare, tax and payments, energy grids, and the data spaces that connect them depend on foreign clouds, proprietary interfaces, black box AI, we lose resilience, we lose competitiveness, and ultimately, we lose democratic agency. Interoperability is Europe's answer, the architecture of resilience and sovereignty in the 21st century. We know that we are facing a new race for technological supremacy. Washington is fusing technology and national security, while Beijing is advancing its digital Silk Road at speed and scale. Export control, artificial intelligence, and compute dominance are not anymore some digital neutral markets. They are instruments of geopolitical leverage. And they are, I believe, the new diplomacy. Let's look around us. Microsoft and Amazon cloud outages paralyzing European public services. Social platforms interfering in our elections. Ukraine's military dependent on Elon Musk's Starlink. Baltic undersea cable sabotaged, and Trump threatening to sanction European digital regulators. This is the reality we are living in. And I think we have learned the lessons. We cannot regulate what we do not own. We cannot defend what we do not control. We cannot claim sovereignty if our digital backbones are building on external dependencies. Europe must choose its own path. We cannot remain a pawn between two digital empires. Let me go a little bit into the geopolitics of technological sovereignty. Geopolitics starts in the ground. Europe is still deeply dependent on critical material, gallium, germanium, rare earth, which are essential for chips, batteries, satellite, and renewable energy. If we have a bottleneck in raw materials, this triggers a bottleneck in chips. A bottleneck in chips triggers a bottleneck in AI and the cloud. And suddenly, your entire digital public sector becomes vulnerable. This is not sci-fi, this is how we are living today. Interoperable digital public infrastructures must therefore start with resilient supply chains, standards, monitoring, and shared European capabilities, which I think is the very important thing. When we look at the artificial intelligence, we should be asking today, is this a boom or a bubble? We know that we are living an unprecedented AI building boom. So this is the infrastructure of AI. Over $3 trillion are flooding into data centers, chips, and energy corridors. Power, land, and water have become strategic gold mines. Global data centers already consume more electricity than many European countries, and by 2026 could reach the equivalent of Japan's total demand. Is this a revolution or a bubble? Probably both. And financially, I believe this also looks like a Ponzi scheme. Yes, everyone is buying its own shares. We don't know where this is going to bust. AI promises productivity gains, but power is dangerously concentrated. NVIDIA is now worth more than the GDP of France, and the entire US economy leans on 5 to 7 AI firms. If we do not act, the AI revolution will happen to Europe, not with Europe. Short-term efficiency in this context is a trap. Dependency today becomes loss of freedom tomorrow. Europe's task is not to chase the AI race, but to shape it, building AI that serves our citizens, scientists, and our industries, that protect the environment and that protect our democracy. You know this Europe innovation gap because this was very central and is very central to the president agenda, but also to the Draghi report. And we have heard before that Europe has been leading in the world in digital regulation. But in digital capability, as you know better than me, we are dangerously behind. Let's just look quickly at some numbers. 70% of our cloud spending goes to non-European providers. We account only for 4% of global AI training and just 10% of global chip manufacturing. And our public sector cannot modernize at the speed that innovation demands. Meanwhile, as Professor Draghi warned, 300 billion of European capital flows overseas every year, mostly to the US, while our own innovators struggle to scale. The way forward is clear, I think, for Europe. Align investment, sovereignty, and smart regulation with interoperability at its core to build European alternatives, overcome fragmentation, and give our public administration the ability to deploy secure, modern, interoperable digital solutions at speed. Digital power today is like a stack. This is in our report. We've been rolling out the Eurostack report, which I wish you can read if you haven't done so. From raw materials to chips to cloud to data to AI, and the control of the stack is concentrated at every layer. Europe's dependencies compounds as we move up the stack, turning technical gaps into strategic vulnerabilities. Just look one example. I could have made many, but I'm going to make one example. If we look at ASML, our crown jewel of chips, a single US executive order can decide whether Europe's top chip maker may export its most advanced machines. We are one executive order away, not in Brussels, but in Washington, from losing access to critical technology we need for our public sector, our industry, our society. Almost 1 year ago, we've been launching the Eurostack initiative as a wake-up call for Europe to reclaim its digital sovereignty. Since then, momentum has exploded. More than 250 companies are now supporting the vision. The European Parliament adopted its report on tech sovereignty. Germany created the digital ministry and embraced the agenda. Denmark, France, Spain, and the Netherlands, to mention key member states, are engaged. But there is a lot to be accomplished. When we talk about Eurostack, Europe's blueprint for digital sovereignty, we are describing much more than a list of components. We are describing a new model of public digital infrastructure for Europe that is sovereign, that is open, that is interoperable, and climate aligned. Because at the end of the day, we are doing this to deliver real services. We must align the supply and the demand across all layers of the stack, so Europe can finally scale solutions across one single market. And Europe starts from real strengths. We have high-quality industrial and public sector data. We have clean, affordable energy, a world-class research and deep tech ecosystem, and some of the most capable public administration in the world, of course, present here today. Our task, therefore, must be simple. We must turn these advantages into interoperable, scalable solutions for member states and drive Europe-wide adoption. The Eurostack and indeed the Interoperable Europe Act rest on shared European values: sovereignty and security, openness and interoperability, climate alignment, data as a common good and public asset, decentralization, inclusive governance, and democracy first. Europe's digital future cannot be built on surveillance capitalism or on techno-authoritarianism. It must be built on public purpose, collective intelligence, and trust. And the Interoperable Europe Act is how we operationalize these values. As we know, Europe has the most advanced digital rulebook: GDPR, DSA, DMA, Data Act, AI Act, Interoperable Europe Act. But we have heard it before. Regulation alone do not build sovereignty. We must match our regulatory power with digital capability, operationalize delivery and public digital infrastructure that is made in Europe, governed in Europe, and aligned with our values. We are already key building blocks of our European digital infrastructure that are emerging. Of course, the EU Identity Wallet, a European digital identity for every citizen. The digital euro, which is going to be trusted public digital money. The European data spaces, shared semantics, registries, open standards, enabling data commons to be shared across countries. I think we have this value in Europe where not only we are able to protect our data and the fundamental rights of citizens, protect industry data and their property right, but then be able to share this data as a data commons across countries. And then, of course, the efforts with Euro LLMs, trustworthy, accountable AI models that are trained on Europe's high-quality public and industrial data. Now we also have the AI Apply strategy. I think this is very important. It is a leap forward for Europe because the objective is to accelerate AI adoption across the public sector, focusing across Europe, but there is a very important public sector chapter focusing on safe, mission-driven, high-impact use case. This is how we're going to change Europe. This is how we're going to modernize our continent. We are also building the sovereign cloud, which is going to be the critical infrastructure for mission-critical public services, and the Euro HPC AI factories and the gigafactories that are following, which share public AI compute powered by clean energy and backed by a EU-wide mission-oriented industrial strategy. You can believe me, you know this, Europe is the only continent that has such infrastructure. And this infrastructure is a public-private endeavor. We have public open compute. So for public administration, but also for talented startups, for SMEs, for our key industries, for our open source developers, to really adopt and use, create their models, but at the end, create the solutions that we're going to scale across all Europe. Because open source and talent, at the end of the day, are going to be the strategic capability for Europe. And SEMIC is where these components become interoperable. Therefore, we need real products that are going to be scaled across the 27 member states. I keep repeating that we need European products because I've been over 10 years in this, advocating for digital sovereignty and the Europe digital agenda. But if I ask you how many digital European products you're using, not so many at the moment. So we need success. We need real European solutions that are safe, that are resilient, that are sovereign and open, and we're going to use them in Europe. Open source, I believe, can be the basis for the digital union and EU strategic autonomy. And across Europe, we are already delivering this vision. It is important to say we are already delivering on this vision. We have the Impacts Edict, the Digital Commons Edict, and a new generation of cross-border public services. Open source, secure, sovereign. I will repeat these words, open source, secure, and sovereign, from the open desk to sovereign clouds to encrypted messaging. Now, you public administration, you are the leader, the lead adopter of these solutions, and it's very important that we start getting this going. Europe is finally, or can finally, be replacing some foreign monopolies with European alternatives. We have also the catalogs to make this real. We have already the open source catalog for public services, a new sovereign tech catalog inspired by the Eurostack initiative that will be launched next week in Brussels with the Digital SME Alliance. And we also need a real ecosystem, yes, of European companies working with governments and the open source community to build, maintain, and scale these solutions. So this is what we need to support. Because sovereignty is not a one-off project. It is a living ecosystem that Europe should nurture and grow. So Europe must build digital public services that are designed for real people. I think we have to convince, it was said before, the former minister, I completely subscribe to that. We need to convince the people outside of this room. The real people, real citizens, we need real impact on the ground, on mobility, on housing, on health, on climate. This is how you're going to explain interoperability to citizens. You're not going to say, hi, good morning. Are you interested in interoperability? You're going to say, do you want, better mobility? Do you want affordable housing? Do you want better healthcare? Do you want to fight climate change? And of course, they are concerned about these topics. For that, we need interoperability to improve things that matter to citizens. At the end of the day, digital sovereignty is about Europe's citizens. This is how we strengthen trust in our institutions. This is how we rebuild democratic capacity. And this is how we create collective intelligence for democracy, together with our citizens. So I had to do this slide. I am sorry, but I want to recap what I believe concrete actions are to deliver on this vision. What are the most important 10 actions for sovereign digital public services? The first one is buy European. We need 50% target for public procurement by 2030. That's why also your role as public service is very important. I believe we need a sovereign tech fund. Maybe we can kickstart with a 10 billion for public digital infrastructure. If we buy European, we need to invest in these solutions. Then 75% AI diffusion in public services by 2030 and cross-border AI challenges in healthcare, tax, benefits, media, culture, in what matters for our public administration and our citizens. We need EU-scale open source and a GovTech ecosystem that can support us to deliver on this vision. We need digital commons and impacts edict, for example, to scale sovereign open source alternatives. And the AI and data labs that are federating European data spaces and link them with the AI factories. Because, as I said before, and I really believe in this, I was working so much when I was the CTO of the city of Barcelona to deliver shared data commons in public interest across border. This is really an asset for Europe. Then we are going to link this with a green sovereign cloud and public AI compute powered by renewable energy, and a digital-ready policymaking. I mean, this is what this unit is working a lot about in Brussels, to support these simple rules, a lean governance, one contract, across 27 member states. I think we can get there. And we can get there because there is the willingness to implement on this vision. And then the interoperability report and the digital sovereignty index. What I want to really, my mission here is to tell you to link the funding to the capability. We are doing this not only to implement our rules. Our rules, we need them to create capability in Europe, then enabling us to have these solutions that are going to scale. And for that, of course, we need new skills, training, and talent, and therefore I'm very pleased to see the Interoperable Europe Academy working to deliver on that. So those 10 actions, I think if we can put them into motion, we're going to see a change across Europe. This is Europe's independent moment, as President von der Leyen said, and it starts in the public sector with one common sovereign digital strategy. But this is not about retreating from the world. This is about Europe leading a new non-aligned path, a global digital cooperation agenda built around public interest, open standards, and shared digital public goods. Our sovereignty is not protectionism, it's openness, but strategic. On Europe's interests, but delivering on public mission and get the alliances globally that we need to safeguard democracy. Instead of choosing between American big tech and Chinese techno-statism, Europe can champion a third way, democratic, open, interoperable, and designed to empower citizens and government everywhere. Because in the 21st century, if you do not control your digital infrastructures, you do not control your future. Let me end with this. To the governments, the CIOs, the innovators, and public leaders in this room, you're not a passive user of technology. You are the builder of Europe's digital future. Your procurement choices, your interoperability standards, your open source strategy will decide whether Europe is digitally independent or a digital colony. Together, we can build a digital union, a Europe that leads with public purpose, protects rights and data, and shapes its own digital destiny. This is what we need for the future of Europe. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And look at that. Look at that. I have to say, I saw so many people taking pictures of that because, look, if you don't control your digital infrastructure, you don't control your future. And yeah, NVIDIA, larger than the GDP of France. Yeah, seriously, there was a gentleman just behind me that went, whoa, at that figure. Francesca, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. Thank you. Francesca Bria, everyone, thank you very much. Thank you. So, delegates, so many of the topics that have already been talked about today. We have the corresponding agencies with the corresponding tools that you can talk to, and you can start to get into a bit more depth, of course, if you are here in the room. So let me just take you through what the next couple of hours are going to look like. You may want to take a note as we go through, just so that you know where you're going to be. And for those who are watching us online, I'll let you know about the streaming as well of all the different parallel tracks. So we now have a break for you. So a very quick break where you can have a look at the innovation area, the exhibition area. And then we're back in with parallel tracks at 11:45. We're going to try and start those on time because there's so much to get through. So if you can be in the room by 11:45. You'll see all the detail on the screen in a moment. But just to give you an idea, in breakout room A, semantics and AI, so looking at evolution or revolution, we've talked a lot about AI. So that's going on in room A. Here in the plenary room, the main room, more about sovereignty, how sovereignty must be considered when we're designing internal processes and digital systems. So that's the conversation happening in here. And then in plenary room B, we're looking at adaptability for the future and future-proofing the services that we are now designing. So there are directions for A and B. This is the main room. I know that you've picked your sessions of where you'd like to be. It's fine if you want to change your mind. So if you've sort of heard something and you'd like to be in a different room, absolutely fine. You can go wherever you please for the parallel tracks. So they will happen for an hour. We then have lunch for you. More time to look at the exhibition centre, but also over lunch, we have a pitching corner. So, and again, this is open to anyone as well who would like to have a go at this and wants to share their views. We've asked some of the innovators to come and sign up and give their pitch to the future of what they think a really good tool is, or their views, their thoughts. The pitching area, and we do still have a few slots left if you would like to join up with these. The pitching area is just as you go into the lounge area, and it's right next to the photo booth as well. There is nothing better than getting your souvenir photograph from a conference. I mean, come on, you can put it in your goodie bag as well. So it's right next to the photo booth. You can go and take your photo in there with your group of people, your team. Then after lunch, we're back into more parallel tracks. And again, the details will come up on screen. And again, if you want to change your mind, absolutely fine. Now, if you're watching us online and you would like to join the parallel tracks as well, on the platform where you are watching us, the detail will come up of where you can click into, so you can choose your parallel track and you can go and be part of the discussion and also join Slido as well. So lots of different ways of having those conversations, lots of different ways of getting to know lots of different people from around Europe with different experience as well. So delegates, let's take a break. We start again at 2:45 for the first of our parallel tracks, and you can join us online then again as well. So for the moment, thank you very much. Thank you.